The definition of human rights is a right to believe to belong to every person. Since colonization, women in America have not been given rights that their male counterparts were given. In 1692, women of high social standing in Salem, Massachusetts would often be accused of being witches. Around 20 women were executed because of these witch trials. Almost all the evidence was speculatory evidence against these women. Until 1833, with Oberlin College, women were not accepted into college. Most women only knew simple arithmetic and English before stopping their education. In 1839, Mississippi became the first state to allow married women to hold property. Prior to that, once a woman became married, herself and all of her husband were considered property of her husband. Women were also not allowed to serve in juries until a Wyoming court in 1870 was the first court to swear in female jurors. Women were often denied the joining trade unions, so the Women's Trade Union League was formed in 1903. Its goal was to improve working conditions and increase wages for women. In 1916, Margaret Sanger opened the first birth control clinic in the United States. The following year, she was deemed guilty of maintaining a public nuisance and was sentenced for 30 days in jail. It wasn't until 1965 that the Supreme Court legalized contraceptives. After many years of struggle, in the year 1920, women were finally given the right to vote. It wasn't until 1964, with an amendment to the Civil Rights Act, that women were not able to be discriminated against in the workplace. In 1967, the Supreme Court case of Loving versus Virginia prohibited laws against interracial marriage. Women were finally able to marry whomever they wanted. In 1972, Title VII of Education amendments allowed women to not be discriminated against in schools. It wasn't until 1974, with the Equal Credit Opportunity Act, that prevented creditors from discriminating against people on the basis of sex, race, color, religion, national origin, marital status, or age. After the Supreme Court deemed the pregnancy discrimination was not sex discrimination, which would be against the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the law was passed saying that it was in 1978. Today, there are still many issues that women face. Despite the Equal Pay Act of 1967, women are still paid 77 cents to every dollar that a man makes. Male lawmakers are making laws which tell women what they are allowed to do with their bodies. Women were victims in over 85% of sex trafficking cases.